Hi everyone, Comic Reviewer here. This time reviewing on Marvel Spider-Man City at War. Now, I'm sorry that the first one was so rushed. The Kindle file that I have at my dad's house runs for 4 minutes, and I wanted to make this as quick as possible. So the stories are basically what happens in between the games, which is a bit unnecessary. So the cover we have is Spider-Man attacking on the demons. And let's get on with the story. It starts off how Miles is getting to work on his assignment, as well as listening to music and having his computer, as well as talking to his friend Genki. And Miles is not really paying attention, and Genki points out that on his phone how Peter is basically battling Swarm, who, unlike the main Marvel Universe version, isn't completely made out of bees, except can control them. So Miles' dad pretty much talks with him saying, "Miles, you're gonna be late for school!" "Sorry, Dad!" "Pull your head out of your interest and get dressed." So Miles pretty much gets ready, gets a Pop-Tart, and heads off to school. So after this, Yuri talks with Spider-Man saying how it's first Shocker and now Swarm, and pretty much during their conversation, Peter gets a phone call from Dr. Octavius, who says Mayor Osborn was here. The city has cut off funding. What? Why? He claims they can't continue funding money into a project that hasn't shown results, and points out that they can still continue. But Doc Ock says, "Of course not, I'm counting on the only thing I know how to do." And he points out that, there's no way to pay Peter anymore, but they said they'll find a way. And meanwhile, later at the night, Miles' dad shows up at the warehouse without Peter Parker taking on the villains or going into the warehouse. It just has them doing a whole getaway, where Spider-Man says, "Look out! These demon guys, don't mess around, watch yourself, get after them, I'll catch up." So after pretty much getting gunned down by demons, Miles' dad pretty much escapes out, and just as he's about to see Spider-Man about to get pummeled, he goes, "I'll have to call you back." And so, pretty much damaging his car and that. And after this, Miles' dad's been taken to the hospital, where MJ wants to do a story on him, and points out that, there's the camera crew and everything else. And Miles' dad says, "Hey, you argue like my kid. What's your angle?" "I don't have one. I just listen." "Okay, hop in." So what's interesting is that Miles is talking to this girl, which I do believe from one YouTuber that's meant to be Gwen Stacy. Just then, Miles' teacher says, "Were you planning on joining us for the exam, Mr. Miles?" "Well, yeah, of course, Mr. Shu." "Then kindly take your seat, so I don't have to give you a 0. So after a while, he aces the test. And what's actually interesting is that I think that's meant to be Matt Murdock there. And we see pretty much Peter stopping the helicopter, which is meant to be from the construction site in that. So Peter pretty much successfully stops the chopper, and pretty much sees Miles in that and heads off. And Miles finds out and that his dad was in the hospital and that, and pretty much is relieved that his dad's okay. So meanwhile, Peter finds out he's been evicted from his house. He's like, "Oh, you gotta be kidding me. Hey, MJ, what's up?" And MJ points out that since Mayor Osborn's seen this, he wants to make this a big thing, and that her story with Miles' dad has sprung a lot of media attention. without Peter rescuing his hard drive and that. So pretty much Miles' dad gets ready to give his speech out until it turns out one of the guys is being controlled by Mr. Negative, and Norman Osborn gets a call from Mr. Negative, and Miles is like, "Dad, that guy behind you!" Miles? What the? And so he jumps in to stop it, but gets blown up, and Miles gets knocked out without the whole kind of go in and search for Dad's thing. So we see Miles and that at his father's funeral. So Peter talks with him saying, no, that matter. I just wanted to say, so Miles pretty much says, "I know what you're going to say, it gets easier every time." And Peter's like, "Yeah, I'm sorry, I was just trying to help, I don't know." And so he says, "Problem is that you can't." "Right, no." And so he walks off without, because we can see in the scene that, yeah, Miles' mum is talking to Peter like in the game and has him heading off. So yeah, that's the story. So what do I think of issue 2? It's not bad, but I feel, yeah, they do try and rush Miles in a bit quickly, and they do rush the adaptation a bit way too quickly. So it deserves a thumbs in the middle. Kind of alright, but could have been better. So, Comic Reviewer here, signing out.